Welcome to A Brief History of Conspiracy. Yeah, please, if you're new to our channel, please like and subscribe. It really does help us out. Right, so a few weeks ago we did an episode on the Younger Dryas event, and the big thing that is, there's a big theory basically that the Younger Dryas event, this blip in the ice age, and a big climate change over a 100-year period, was caused by meteorite strikes. I've always had a problem with that, in that I don't understand how a meteorite strike can cause temperature increases, 10-degree temperature increases. The other thing being, actually, that there's two of these temperature increases, isn't there, about 100 years apart, which I think was two impact.
No, 1,200 years apart.
1,200 years apart, apologise. The interesting thing about that is both temperature increases were the same. Both were
about
almost
a 10-degree increase combined with the 300 feet sea level rise.
Which suggests actually it was more likely that it was a similar after effect. Those asteroids would have to have been the same size and hit roughly in the same place to cause the same impact.
Which is very, very coincidental slash implausible, almost, in my mind.
But also, I don't see how it creates a temperature increase. For my thinking is, you get an impact. You get fires, which would cause an impact, but it would be quite localised. And then you get a nuclear winter, if it's a big enough impact.
Well, they theorise that it was an asteroid that hit the North American ice shelf that
melted the ice shelf. Yeah.
Now, because of the lack of reflection from all of that melted ice that was previously reflecting a load of the sun's, therefore a lot more heat's retained. So that would be...
Yeah, but then you wouldn't get a sudden spike in temperature like we got. The spike in temperature took about a year, and we had a temperature massive increase, and we got a 10-degree centigrade increase in a year. I made the argument in the video that it's some sort of runaway global warming effect, like we're terrified of now. And we made the point at the time, didn't we? It's unlikely because it's so sudden, it's so rapid. So there are some other theories that go around, basically. Right, for one, we know the Ice Age was caused, or we believe the Ice Age is caused by the sun. The Earth has a wobble to its orbit, and every so many thousand years, the northern hemisphere ends up being aimed away from the sun more than usual, and we get an Ice Age. For my thinking, is the only thing that could cause this sort of impact, this suddenly, is the sun.
The weird thing is between the two spikes, the temperature spikes, and the massive sea level rises, it then goes through a period of cooling between the two massive spikes as well, which...
But that's what I think...
Which again coincides very well with some kind of activity from the sun, some kind of solar activity.
So, one of the theories that goes around is this thing called a micronova.
Yeah.
Right? And we all know there are flares. So solar flares happen all the time. We're very worried about protecting our satellites and our power systems from this, because there's an EM thing. We're normally protected from solar flares by our electromagnetic field of the Earth generates.
Yeah, magnetic core generates.
Should be worried about because it's weakening at the moment, because I think the pole is going to flip, and actually our magnetic field is much weaker than it has been in the past at the moment, which is again a natural thing. It does weaken and strengthen at times. So if we were to be hit by a big solar flare, now is not the time. But anyway, but this micronova thing is something bigger. It's something on a much larger scale. And we have seen this happen in the galaxy. There's 10 or 12 recorded instances where we have seen what we thought was a supernova, a mass ejection of material
from another star. Yep.
But then the star's actually still there afterwards. So we know that a supernova destroys the star. Whatever this was didn't
destroy the star.
So, and we also know the sun has a cycle. So we've recorded it. We're in roughly the 10th cycle at the moment, I believe, of the sun. It strengthens and weakens, and we're in a weaker period at the moment. So we know the sun has a cycle. So, and we've talked before about this 12,000 years thing. about how there seems to be from recordings that every 12,000 years or so, something happens.
Major happens that
Yeah.
seems to impact the human species on this planet
Yeah.
significantly. Well, not just the human species,
The
all
planet.
species
Yeah.
on the planet.
I mean,
You see mass extinctions, don't you? Roughly every 12,000
Yeah.
years. Not to the level of the mass extinction of the dinosaurs, perhaps 65 million years ago, but still significant extinctions of significant numbers of species. I think there's about 50 mega mammals, weren't there, or megafauna that went extinct in the last one in North America.
and human numbers dropped to thousands.
Yeah, they
it's instead of
20,000, didn't they? We reckon it maybe at a
Yeah.
low point.
I mean, they reckon that to have a genetic, have enough genetic material to continue a species, you need about 10,000 humans. Money less than that, and the species can't really survive. So to have a healthy chance of re-expanding the numbers. So going down to 20,000 or so, that's pushing it. So yeah, the sun has a cycle. We've recorded that cycle. We see it now. So to say that there could be like a 12,000 year cycle that we're not currently aware of, it's possible.
It is very possible, because the observation period is that long that no individual human would ever be able to observe it.
Well, exactly.
And therefore it would only be able to observe
And if you
by
do see it, you go, oh, look at
generations.
that, dead.
Yes.
So I believe that it is possible that the sun could have some sort of cycle that we're not currently aware of, and it could be perfectly normal in its life. We have the magnetic field that protects us from being completely destroyed, but it seems to me that some sort of mass ejection, very large. If it's just if it has to be something as well that's 360 degrees, that's total. So because if it was just that every so often there was a very large,
well, that's the reason we escape a lot of solar flares, isn't it? Is because it's not
they don't hit us.
It's not an equilateral distribution of electromagnetic radiation.
It's like shooting a gun, and
exactly. It's like
but hitting the earth is like trying to hit a bullet with a bullet. It's not.
It's
incredibly difficult.
Incredibly difficult to act. Yeah, so that's why we survive and don't experience a lot of the solar flares.
Yeah. But if there is this regular 12,000 year thing where it is total, it would hit us definitely, and an enormous energy wave. And this would be plasma, it would be EM energy, it would be radiation, it would be a massive ejection of energy hitting our atmosphere.
Well, they also reckon not just energy, they reckon actual mass, actual particles.
Yeah, actual material.
So they reckon anything from like the size of dust particles up to the size of planets could be ejected from the...
Really? Planets? That's a lot of material.
It is a lot of material, isn't it?
Yeah,
But that's what they went up to in a video I was
That's
watching.
insane.
And it was phenomenal, isn't it, that you could think that the sun could eject a planet's worth of...
Well, 99% of the material in the solar system is the sun.
Yeah.
It's
almost
all of the matter in the sun, in our solar system is the sun. So, I mean, so this is the thing. If this is possible, it is a blast.
Yep.
And it would for me it makes more sense that this is what caused the Younger Dryas than I've got a butterfly on my leg. That this caused the Younger Dryas than an impact from a meteor that would be so regular. So, what evidence do we have then to say that this is what happened?
We've got the ice core samples from
I saw
both poles and Greenland that pretty much show the 12,000 year cycle that we're
boom, pretty regular.
pretty regular.
I saw a guy, big number 4. I saw saying the mainstream science no longer believes this is evidence for this solar mass because there's an increase in nitrates on the layer, and they said fires can cause that. I'm like, yeah. What do you think caused the fires? Surely doesn't that make sense? A 10-degree increase in global temperatures would cause massive fire. You know, you have massive changes in temperature. Areas that were once wet would all very suddenly become very dry, and you'd have fires. So that doesn't. The two don't negate each other for me. You can't. It can't be that because of this. And I'm like, yeah, it could be both. But that's just my thinking.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Yeah.
Bradley Schaefer wrote a book a few years ago, and he said that there was evidence that at some point within the last 30,000 years or so, the sun had a period of about 10 years to 100 years or so, where it was 100 times brighter than it is now. And that's insane. That 100 times brighter than it is today. You go and stand out in the Sahara, where it's 45 degrees, and feel the energy of the sun.
Oh, yeah. And then imagine
100 times brighter. That would cause fires.
Oh, yeah. That would fireball Earth, would possibly. 100 times.
That's insane, isn't it? And they've got evidence for it, though, as well. Because they found, when looking at moon rocks, that there's this, like a glass effect, and this, like, black glass, or marbleization of the stones.
Right.
Which then suddenly makes me start thinking about there's several missions we went to the moon. I've never really quite understood why we kept going back.
Yeah, the extra Apollo missions once we landed there.
Go once, go twice. Apollo 13 happens, and it was nearly a disaster. You'd think, you know what, that's enough. But they didn't. They went back several more times. Yeah. Was it 7 times in total? 6 or 7 times?
7, I think, wasn't it? Maybe, yeah.
So, they kept going back for something. They were trying to find something. Was it evidence of this?
Quite possibly.
Trying to learn more about it, which we're going to go into more in a minute. Maybe.
I'm pretty sure the public are never given the full truth as to the exact intent of the moon missions. I believe that there was probably some scientific experimentation that was underlying the return missions. It makes a lot of sense because
it feels like they were checking to me. It feels like they were trying to gather the evidence to check something they already knew.
Yeah.
Or already believed.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Going to this more evidence, there's a Corey Good, who's a bit of a character when it comes to this. He says he worked for the secret space program, and he's been on the base on the moon, Lunar Operations Command, which is a good name, and he says that this happened, and that he actually said that between 2018 and 2019, at the bottom of the current decrease in energy that the sun's putting out, that this would happen. So any time now, folks, this, if all of a sudden you see a flash of light in the sky, worry.
Well, yeah, quite possibly.
But now this guy's actually pretty believable when you watch him interviews and things. Okay. And he talks about the secret space program, and he's got details and stuff. He then, for me, goes a little off because he then starts talking about the Anshar. I'm probably not saying that right. Anshar.
Okay.
Descendants of future time travellers that send him information psychically. Okay. I start going, God damn it! I was so with you until he started talking about the Anshar. I'm not saying it's not, and if one of them starts talking to me, my immediate thing will be to go and get mental health treatment.
Probably.
But then when the doctor says I'm fine, I'm going to be like, okay, fair enough. But I'm sort of the same on God, really, to be honest. I don't really believe in God, but if I end up at the pearly gates, I'll be like, okay, sorry. Can I come in?
The other alternative I suppose you've got is that it wasn't an asteroid impact that occurred at the start of the Younger Dryas and keeps occurring every 12,000 years or so.
Yeah.
But then you've got to believe that we're passing through the same asteroid or passing near to the same cluster of asteroids that
every
12,000 years that then give different varying degrees of asteroid impacts depending on what we pull in when we go through. That seems plausible to me, but
it's still that temperature increase which I don't follow.
No.
I have to ask, did our ancient ancestors know this? The Hopi tribe.
I believe
they say that we're in the 5th stage of man or something, don't they? And that works. Depending on how old you think humanity is. If we were in the 5th age of man, that would be 60 to 70,000 years we'd be talking about. And some
12,000 year cycles, are they? The ages of man.
I don't think they've got an age, but if you assume that is related to this 12,000 year cycle, then that's a number you could sort of come up with.
Yeah, okay.
Some estimates for humanity, modern man is about 70,000 years old. Some estimates go quite a lot higher. But
I tend to go along with the higher estimates because Brian Cox in Wonders of the Universe states that the humans have the current brain capacity or brain volume, and we've had that for the last 250,000 years. So 250,000 years ago, the average man was just as intelligent then as we are now.
Well, that's when the Anunnaki
or capable.
Yeah.
Capable.
Wasn't it 50,000 years?
No, 250,000 years ago.
Well, there you go then.
250,000 years we've existed with our current brain capacity as Homo sapiens sapiens.
Yeah, so that means, I mean, if that's even remotely right, that means we've had the current ability and potentially technical ability for 255,000 years more than we've got recorded history. So we did nothing for 245,000 years, and then we all of a sudden went, you know what would be good? Writing stuff down.
And let's farm some crops. Let's not go looking for the crops. Let's grow them ourselves.
Yeah, we keep wandering around after these lions. You know what we could do? Let's get a pig and tie it down. Let's do that. You know, it's like, no, we didn't. That's nonsense, isn't it?
It is.
So the Hopi tribe have got this thing anyway, and that might just be as far back as their history goes. But you know, their history goes. But that means they've gone back about 70,000 years. They knew this has been going on for.
Which is quite a good historical record compared to our current 10. At best.
We go back 8,000 years and we're struggling.
Yeah,
we go back 2,000 years and we're struggling. I was having an argument with the guy last week about whether Jesus existed or not. And he said, oh, no, he didn't. And I'm like, I think Jesus did exist. But actually, if you look at it, there's some historical evidence, there's some this, that, and the other. But really, the historical evidence is so shit. Pardon my French, I'll beep that out.
Yeah, so poor.
It's so poor that we don't know for certain.
No.
If you have a standard of historical evidence, we don't know for certain. To go back, it's 70,000 years. We've got no clue.
No, not at all, not at all. And that's why it's all mythology, and none of it's actually known because we just can't. But that makes sense if there was a major cataclysm about 12,000 years ago that wiped us out to nearly 20,000 people, and the only thing that was left were the stories of the major cataclysm and the stories of the times before the major cataclysm.
It's something you'd mention to your children.
It is.
And it is a story that would continue.
And all world religions are prevalent with the with catastrophic events in their pasts. So it does seem to me that all of the religions sort of point to this catastrophic nature of events occurring on this planet.
And you could say as well that our early ancestors were obsessed with this. Thing.
Yeah.
This is an underground city that was built potentially around this time, potentially much older. 18 stories deep. This thing goes. There's hundreds of rooms. They think there could have been 20,000 people living at Derinkuyu at its height, and it still exists today. It was built well enough to exist today. Why build underground that way? Why build a massive underground city unless you're hiding from something?
Unless you're scared of what's coming from above.
Yeah.
It's the only reason you build a big underground city rather than building it. If you look at what we do today, we tend to build on top of the surface. Primarily.
Unless you want to hide it for some reason.
Unless you're trying to hide something.
Yeah.
So there's either two schools of thought, I suppose. So either the place like Derinkuyu was built to try and hide their people and their and their what's the word? Their cattle, their pigs. You know, they were trying to hide their entire civilization from a rival civilization that was warring with them and was trying to invade and occupy them. That's one theory.
Yeah, but the thing is, for me, I've never really followed that one because constructing this site would take years and years and years.
Yes.
So they'd have had to have been. I'd have thought if they were that afraid of the enemy would have overtook them before they had a chance to actually build it.
They wouldn't have had a chance to build the city before they'd probably been run over, by the opposition. Yeah.
So I've never really quite followed that.
No.
I always think they were hiding. And there was so much effort, like ventilation. There's rooms for everything. I mean,
they lived 10 stories deep with ventilation shafts. 18 stories deep with ventilation shafts. There you go. And that's an extraordinary engineering feat that people would be proud of today.
Some of it was natural. They reckon there was sort of volcanic tunnelling and stuff. So they took advantage of the location. Okay. But then there was, but then a bulk of it was dug. There was another city reasonably close to it that they then had a connecting tunnel to, which is, I think it's about a mile long or something, which is, again, that alone is a massive feat of engineering.
Yeah.
You have to say, why? What were they hiding from? Unless they had just lived through, or were continuing to live through, because we're also assuming this cycle of this thing would be one event, like a massive bang. It might not be. It might be like a bang, 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 like an earthquake. You have like pre-shocks, and then a big event, and then aftershocks. It might be that type of thing. They might have still been living through it.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe not as intense as I think 2 events that caused the Younger Dryas, Pulse Water A and Pulse Water B. I think there was 2 very large events. But there could have been repeated ones. We don't know. That's the point. We don't know. This could have gone on for hundreds of years.
Yeah, completely.
And then you have to think about that. They would be hiding from it, and if this happened again, that is the only people that are going to survive this.
Yeah, people that are prepared to go and live underground for a while.
Yeah,
probably. Yeah, if there's an extreme sun cycle activity that we don't even know anything about that causes 10-degree temperature spikes and 300 feet sea level rises almost instantaneously.
It's worldwide devastation.
Yeah, you need to have an underground cave system to protect you from the sun.
Yeah.
But you also need to be in a high enough landmass that you're not going to get flooded.
And you need to be protected from the radiation as well. So you need to be reasonably deep.
Yeah.
But you've got other sites as well. This is my point as well. There's hundreds, potentially even thousands of these underground cities. And God knows how many others we haven't found or been collapsed or whatever.
Yeah.
There's another one called Nouris in France. 2 miles worth of tunnels, 300 excavated rooms. 2 miles of tunnels. Again, 20,000 people live there at its height. It's insane. Petra.
Yeah.
Goes 130 feet into the mountain. Why? Why were they so obsessed in carving out this building or whatever out of solid rock? Unless they were trying to protect or hide from...
Also, with some of these ancient cultures that did build some of these magnificent structures and or carve things out of mountains, would you really expend the entire resources of your entire civilization building these things?
Unless you absolutely had to.
Unless you absolutely had to. Or did they have technologies that we perhaps lost that meant that building these things was a lot easier than we think it was?
I just think about building Deriku now, and it would be a massive engineering feat.
Oh, yeah.
Look at Eurotunnel.
Yes.
How long it took us with massive drilling machines, and you see the photos of Deriku as well. They was incredibly sophisticated. So, just getting that ground, and only 20,000 people live there. So you can assume the actual people building it, there was a society that was smaller than that. You can assume. So we're not talking about what they say the Egyptians had when they were building the thing. Hundreds of thousands of slaves, or they don't know slaves anymore, do they? But because I say to you repeatedly, with enough people you can do amazing things.
Yeah, of course.
But you need enough people. We're not talking about a massive population though, and they were able to do this. So it would suggest that maybe they were more capable than we realise.
A lot more capable than we realised. Which kind of coincides with us having the same brain capacity for the last 250,000 years as well. So I'd argue that we've probably had human civilizations on this planet going back most of that time period. We just lost them all.
Do you think about building Downku as well? Is the effort it would require, the organisation it would require, but also the making sure you don't dig, because again, none of these areas have collapsed and it's still there. They knew well enough to build it in a way that they wouldn't sort of build onto each other. You know, you build one room, then you build another one bit too close.
In other words, they almost
knew
had
not to do that.
Yeah, they had a masters in engineering and architecture.
And radar, or some sort of ground penetrating method of knowing where they were.
If they understood engineering and architectural principles in order to not let underground cities collapse, I suspect they were a lot more intelligent than we give them credit for. Very much so. In fact, I almost think that it's almost possible that we've had a global civilization of the scale of today at some point in that 250,000 years in the past.
We need to think of a good name for that. If it was some sort of lost civilization that we don't know. I don't know, I'd have to think of something. Disney would probably have a good name.
Like an island that disappeared in the Atlantic Ocean, maybe? Or
that's it, and we can name the ocean after it as well.
Oh, yeah.
So, yes, we're back to Atlantis. Please go and look at our other episodes. So, yeah, I actually think that... Right, I wonder as well, if this happened today with our current technology, we're probably more susceptible to this than we ever have been.
Yes.
Because we are so reliant on our technology.
Yeah, they reckon a solar flare in the right direction can take out the entire satellite GPS navigation systems, which renders pretty much all of the military and everybody driving in their cars with sat-navs useless.
1859 was the largest recorded solar flare that hit us that we know about.
Okay.
And it's called the Carrington event.
Actually,
and apparently the scientists that saw it, Now this event knocked out, there wasn't really much power systems, but there were some. It knocked all them out. And there's a thing about the telegraph wires, you know, that you see in the westerns running along the railway tracks. Some of them can just combusted. They just burst into flames. There was so much electromagnetic energy that that wiring exploded, basically, and just burst into flames. If that hit us today, and some scientists say there's about a 12% chance that at any point that could happen. If you said to me, "Guys, I'm going to cross the road now, but there's a 12% chance you're going to get run over," you wouldn't cross the road. You know, you'd go, you know, a 1 in 10 chance. I don't like those odds.
Yeah, probably not. Most wouldn't. But risk takers would. But yeah.
Yeah, well, there's a 12% chance that we could get hit by one of these things at any point. We are so reliant on our technology today. I don't know how we'd...
I think Bill Burr's divorce example would be a better one. 75% of marriages end up in divorce. If you were going to jump out of a plane, you had a 75% chance of the parachute failing. Would you go for it?
I'm already on my second marriage, so we're not going to... My first... I'm 1 for 2. 50% success rate. Thank you very much.
For now.
I tell you what, every time I come up into the attic to record one of these things, I think she loves me a little less.
Yeah.
Love you.
I've got about another 100 shows left.
Yeah, at least. So, yeah, and then she'll kill me in my sleep. Right, so, the Apollo missions potentially went up to look at the moon to find evidence for this. We have already talked about a history that's being hidden from us.
Yes.
The Vatican Library, other libraries, other places like this have a knowledge that's been hidden from us and we're being lied to. And if this solar flare thing is true, I don't believe for a second that our powers that be aren't aware. So... No,
well, like I mentioned before, didn't I, Charles Hopgood, the Earth crust displacement theory. Well, interestingly, he's apparently a CIA operator as well. So he was linked into the intelligence agencies and also happened to have a bit of an out there theory about
crystal displacement,
which Einstein was interested in and forwarded his book. So it tends to make me think he was onto the right lines.
That was a theory with this mass ejection or this thing, that there would be a massive electromagnetic wave and then that could potentially interact with our core and could cause our North Pole, our magnetic field. It would be like having a magnet and getting a massive electromagnetic source or something, going past it and just watching that magnet spin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They would interact with each other and it would affect each other.
Yes.
That's terrifying as well.
Yeah.
So, our powers that be, no.
Quite possibly.
How would we know they know? How would we know that they know that we know that they know?
Dun, dun, dun. They'd be building a lot of underground bases, I would imagine.
Yeah, but we know they're not doing that.
Oh, but they are.
Dun dun dun. They are building a massive underground bases. Even private companies are doing this. I mean, never mind what the government's doing, right? Because that is, we'll go into that in a sec. Private companies have been converting old military bases and old underground missile silos and all this sort of thing. Have been converting them into salvation chambers or salvation homes or something in case of the next big catastrophe. And they cost from 20 grand to 200 grand each. The biggest one in America houses 5,000 people. And you should see the photos. Actually, you can see the photos. I'll put them up. It's like the Savoy Hotel. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
They've got underground. They can grow food under there. They can survive under there for years.
Well, they ain't selling the tickets cheap, mate.
No, 200 grand, some of them.
That's what I mean.
So
there you go.
And our rich people are notoriously tight-fisted. There's another thing saying that rich people stay rich for a reason. And it's when you get so wealthy, you get to a point of real money, you start... And you get to that point as well by being an absolute skinflint as well, that you are thinking... Poor people waste money. Rich people don't.
Well, yeah, by definition, if you're continually poor, you're not good at handling money.
Yeah, I'm constantly... You've literally had to lend my wife money tonight because we're skinny.
But yeah, but it is true. It's continually...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I do think that's a good analogy, though, and rich people are not stupid with their money. I've seen documentaries about this, and it was sort of a bit tongue-in-cheek, almost taking the mickey out of these people. But then I think about this, and I think, actually, is there an elite of people that know?
That are privy to information that the masses aren't privy to.
They know something we don't know, and they're ready for it.
I mean, if you study the annals of history, it's not like the elite have ever hidden information from the peasants before, is it?
They're always completely honest with us, like governments. Always, they would never ever lie to the people or try and manipulate us in any way.
No.
For Americans, that was sarcasm. Sorry. No, I've said things...
Which they say is the lowest form of wit.
No, genuinely. I've said things sarcastically on this video and ended up having comments saying that, how dare you say that? Because no, I mean the exact opposite. Take a hint
Sarcasm.
of the tone, people.
You can't...
I'm being sarcastic. When I say the government always tells us the truth, I don't mean it. I can list off times when they've lied to us about horrific things. Anyway, that's getting edited out. So, yeah, the one point is called Vivo X Point, and like I say, there's 5,000 people can live there, and this is a private company, and they've sold them all. So, and that's one site. There are a lot of them, you know, and that's just the private companies that we know about that advertise, sort of thing. So, how many government sites?
What have the government been building exactly? Well, I'm pretty sure in America, from the research I've done, there's many deep underground military bases that are interconnected by.
Yeah. That's dumb. No, they're called DUMBs. That's DUMBs, deep underground military bases.
Connected by maglev trains.
Yeah, that's a good joke. Come on. Yeah, I always said I put up on our last video, then I put a little thing. That's a good way of moving aliens around, and it would be. Great.
Oh, it would be a great way. Can you imagine, actually? Yeah. Maybe they've created some bases for some of the alien
we were on about
species to live in.
storming Area 51. Well, there's one of the... We're going to get to
they can just
a
move
conspiracy theory, actually, about a battle, aren't we, in one of these bases.
Yeah.
That, there was, like, the lower areas were controlled by the aliens, and that was basically their habitat, but then there was... They fought us, and there was a big war, and this guy's coming out. We'll get into that much later. But, cool. But I was just thinking about we're going to storm Area 51, and they're going, oh, well, we're going to go find those aliens. Because they won't be there, because they're all on maglev trains heading east as we speak, you know?
Yeah,
they won't be there.
They won't be there.
And we don't see them moving around because underground.
Yeah, quite possibly, yeah.
So, but we know the Americans build loads of these bases. We know about a few of them. But God knows what we don't know about. And they've been building them for years. Other thing I was thinking about, again,
They definitely know something that the masses don't.
Yeah. The Svalbard sea vault.
Oh, yes, yeah, the sea bank, yeah.
I saw a newspaper not long ago about it. They were saying they were a bit worried because of global warming, it might melt. So they built it in Norway specifically to stay permanently frozen, and it's melting. But anyway, this was not a cheap project. This was millions and millions of pounds, and it costs millions of pounds to operate. And seeds, if you don't know about it, seeds from all over the world are held. It's sometimes called the Ark. And if there was some sort of global a catastrophe, we could reseed the earth.
If anybody could get to Norway to get the seeds. But yeah.
Well, there's probably a massive underground base there as well. There probably is. So
yeah, you're probably right.
But I think they'd have thought about that as well. But the things for me, the thing I think is humanity genuinely is very good at doing things we have to do. It's not very good at doing things we don't really have to do.
No.
And we're very good at putting off till tomorrow what we could do today.
Yes.
So the fact that they built this thing, that it exists,
and it was built so quickly.
Yeah. Oh, it scares the hell out of me. Hence the beer.
Didn't Bill Gates finance it?
Bill Gates did apparently. I don't think he financed it totally. I think it was a bit of a hedge fund thing.
Yeah, but he did provide some financing for it.
Other thing is, apparently Bill Gates has one of these shelters in all of his properties. Every single one. He has a survival shelter.
Yeah. Interesting. And he's a billionaire that's been to the Bilderberg Group meetings for a number of years, privy to the insider information, world agenda, New World Order, global politics.
The Bilderberg Group may as well be called the What Are We Going to Do When the World Ends Group.
Almost, yeah.
It seems to me.
And if they actually broadcast any of the stuff they discussed in those meetings, we probably wouldn't be making this video. But anyway, but yeah, it does scare me quite a lot as well.
Just crying in my bed if I think I knew half the stuff they talked about. I just go, I'm not getting out of bed. Screw this.
Some of their conversations, you know that they've sat round at some point and gone, what are we going to do about the population crisis? How are we going to kill some of them?
Yeah.
They must have sat round and had that conversation.
We're overpopulated, what are we going to do about it?
Yeah, that's a conversation that must have occurred probably at the Bilderberg Group at some point. I can't see how it hasn't.
The thing is as well, in psychology they call it groupthink, and it's when you get a group together and they start thinking about a problem and they really quickly dehumanise it. It's like how you get a management team and they're talking about stripping assets from a business or cutting jobs and things. They don't think about the lives they're ruining by making these people redundant. They just look at numbers.
Yeah, but
and they completely dehumanise the situation.
Yeah.
And like I say, look it up. It's called groupthink. This would be groupthink on a
most CEOs,
worldwide scale. Yeah.
CEOs or any kind of executive officers of corporations basically operate on that. All the employees.
They actually think most or a large percentage of very successful people are actually very high up on the psychotic scale, because they're able to get to that position because they don't think and they don't emotionalise things the way we do. They think in very cold, calculating terms. And you can also assume that this isn't going to be like Hollywood movies and things where we go.
It's just a lack of empathy.
Yeah, they don't have empathy. Exactly, they don't have empathy. It's not going to be like Hollywood movies where we go, we must save that one person. It's going to be more like, how do we save the species, or more importantly, how do we protect our way of life?
Yeah, the elites protecting their way of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got the guide stones in Georgia guide stones, and talking about how we need to get down the population needs to be around 500 million for us to progress and move forward. The interesting thing, I've said to you about this before, the interesting thing I thought about that was how difficult it was to find out who built those, and nobody knows still now. Some researchers went in and they tried to figure it out and they couldn't. The legal cloak over that site, they cannot find who owns the land, they cannot find who purchased these rocks, who had them built, or who had them carved. They can't find the money trail. That alone is a horrendously expensive thing to do. To actually, I think that probably would have cost more. The legal umbrella placed over that probably cost more than the guide stones themselves.
Yeah, more than likely, yeah.
They found the lawyer that was involved, and that's as far as I got. It's so again, that scares me. Not the fact that someone did it, but the fact that someone did it and was so determined to make sure they protected it. That was a very large, wealthy group. And the fact that they put it in stonemasons? Move on to that.
Randall Carlson goes on, doesn't he, about the stonemasons, about the carpet in one of the Masonic lodges that he visited, depicting the cyclical, catastrophic events that occur on the earth, and how that it was depicted on the carpet in the Masonic lodge, basically, that he visited.
It's like they're hoping for it to come around again or whatever.
No, seriously, he's talking about that in one of the podcasts with Joe Rogan, and fascinating that is even a thing that the Masonic Lodge has even got. So somewhere in the higher levels of Freemasonry, they are aware of the cyclical, catastrophic events that occur in the earth.
It almost sounds like they worship it, though, in some way.
Yeah, they're aware of it. It's not. No, I don't think they're necessarily worshipping it, but it's almost like they're like, we're privy to this information. You come into our lodge and you see things that you didn't know.
And that's why you've got to go through tiers, haven't you, to get more knowledge and different thing. And that's quite happening. That's quite common in a lot of cults and things as well. You have tier 1, tier 2, and it's only when you get up to the top levels you actually find out the real stuff they believe.
You don't even know how many levels they are. I think they talk, don't they, about being a 33rd degree Freemason, which means you're 33 levels above the basic entry level.
Yeah.
And that's
pretty scary.
And that might not even be the top. That's just part way up there, and that's 33 levels above the bottom. So, the Masonic Lodge we've got in our little town here probably hasn't got anybody privy to any knowledge.
Every time I drive past that, I feel like knocking on the door.
Yeah,
we have a Masonic Lodge on the high street, or just off the high street, and it's actually called the Masonic Lodge, isn't it? And I do fancy going in there. I know a couple of people that are Masons, and I still want to be a Mason. I've been accused of being a Mason on this channel again.
Have you?
I've had comments going, you Mason scumbag, and I'm like, I'm really not.
Really
yeah,
not?
you are. You're the
I'll tell you what.
false information.
That could be an episode, couldn't it? We'll infiltrate the local masonry lodge on a meeting night.
It'll be a video of us getting our asses thrown out.
Yeah, it'll be quite funny. We'll try and make it like the Alex Jones infiltration of Bohemian Grove.
Hey, let's do it. Again, it's a long con, but let's do it. The really terrifying thing about this is, and again, the main reason why I'm currently drinking beer for this episode, is the 12,000 years is up.
Yeah.
They think if this carries on, it's going to happen in the next 50 years or so.
Yeah, they reckon the next few decades, but I think we might see the same event that reared its head around the Younger Dryas.
Yeah, I've seen around 2050 was one of the 2046, I think was the date. Which it's not going to be that specific, but
which I may be in two minds about. I'm going to be honest. I'll probably be quite glad at the point when it happens, going, "Yeah, I was right." As I'm dying.
Yeah.
Well, I'm dead.
It's like that bloke riding a nuclear weapon down. And woohoo! I'm going to love the ride. But
not so happy about the landing.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think this is one of those conspiracies that scares me, because I can connect the dots. And you talk about why would governments lie to us about it?
Because they would.
Most definitely. Because it's also, they need us as sheep to build their nice big underground cities for them. They need the world to continue until it stops. And they know that if we knew it was going to stop, everything would stop.
Everything would, yeah.
Who's going to go to work tomorrow?
Yeah, if you knew the end of the world's imminent, who's going to keep propping up the world economy by the debt-driven economy by turning up for your jobs?
Yeah.
No one. In which case, the whole economic structure collapses, and then government can't accomplish anything anymore, and therefore they can't build the bases, they can't protect the species, they can't do anything. So if you actually think about it, you and also to I know it's probably a little bit harsh, but why would you let the sort of the less intelligent people know about an incoming like doom event when they're breeding uncontrollably and creating lots more lower IQ people, whereas the higher IQ people are, let's say...
I don't think the wealthy are generally more intelligent.
No. Okay, well, not necessarily the wealthy are more intelligent. It's not
they
true.
They think they are, probably.
But they think they are. I'm not saying that necessarily the wealthy are more intelligent. A lot of them have just got positions of privilege, unearned privilege that they've had from previous generations. of their family that perhaps were very intelligent people that managed to build an empire or managed to... What I was trying to say was when their interest is in culling the world population, why would you tell most of the peasants that their end is coming?
I suppose the thing is as well, they need this to happen quite quietly, don't they? For their plan to work, they need to be able to get to their bunkers quite quietly.
Yep.
They need the bunkers to be kind of secret, because when this happens, there's going to be a rush.
Yes.
And we're all going to try to save ourselves. We just are.
Yeah, of course you are.
And so nature. They need...
Well, it's not human nature, it's everything. It's natural instinct for survival. Instinct,
yeah. So they would need this to be quite quiet and for nobody's known to come in and to then quietly go underground and just wait it out. We can't save everybody. And to be honest, we know that from nationalism. We're the 6th wealthiest country in the world. And you still hear people complain that we send money to feed starving children in India and Africa and places like this, and I kind of think, we should look after ourselves first. We have, and we don't get me wrong, we have terrible problems in this country like everywhere, homelessness and this sort of thing, but we still have an automatic response to we've got to look after ourselves first. Then if we can help other people, great. But first of all, we look after ourselves, and this group would probably have the same sort of thinking. We've got to look after ourselves first, and then we'll see if we can do something else to help other people. So it doesn't quite explain why their survival bunkers again look like the Ritz, but we'll skim over that.
So there's similarities to the film 2012, that they're just building the arks inside of in the ground rather than big metal objects that are going to float on the tidal waves.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of thing.
Well, they know what's coming. But the way I see this is, if this is true, and I actually fear it could be, our civilization is the most vulnerable to this it's ever been. Our numbers are potentially the highest they've ever been. And we barely survived it last time. We barely survived this when we weren't reliant on our electronics, food. If you assume we were hunter-gatherers, which we don't think that we were, but if we assume we were hunter-gatherers 12,000 years ago, we were able to move with the food, we were able to think, and we barely survived it. That's kind of scary.
Yeah, it is kind of scary, but then you think about some of the other weird finds, like when in those Russian mountains where they found machined nano components. From the date back about
I know nothing about that.
No?
You're gonna have to teach me about that. I don't know nothing about that.
It dates back to about 300,000 to 400,000 years ago, and they're basically machined components for like electronics.
So I think that's one of the things I'm realising, us doing this project, where we are, again, if you watch this again, we're trying to do mysteries and conspiracies through time. We're doing it in order. Big subject. There's lots of things I didn't know anything about.
Did you know when I said we might have bitten off a bit more than we can chew here? This is
and I went, no, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we'll do it in order. We'll do it in chronological order.
Yeah, mate, are you sure about that?
It's difficult. We could pick a topic each week.
No, everyone does that. Everybody does that and just jumps from topic to topic. This is far more difficult and gives me a headache because I do most...
life consuming.
A little bit. Trying to get people to watch it is life consuming.
That's also true.
Doing this bit is thing. Doing all the stuff you've got to do to like advertise it and thing, that is in. If you ever want to do a YouTube channel, just don't. It's really hard and soul destroying. Every stupid message you get, just going. We've had some lovely messages. We're going to do an episode at the end of the series actually, where we're going to go through and talk about some of our. We've had some really nice messages. I actually got "We love you guys" on one message. I was like, thank you.
It kind of makes it feel worthwhile, doesn't it? When you get that kind of. Yeah.
That was one.
There's only one. But one's enough. One's enough.
It starts with one. But yeah, it is difficult, but we enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
And I get to get drunk, so also
positive.
Always fun. So, 12,000 years, destruction, sun messing us up. What do you think? What are your? Let's do it in a percentage. That's fun. We've not done that before. What is your percentage that you think it might be true?
To what might be true exactly? That 12,000 year cycle.
12,000 year cycle. The sun, novas.
Well, the 12,000, 13,000-ish year cycle of catastrophic events occurring is pretty much proven from the ice core sample. So I can say quite conclusively that is correct.
Oh God, we're all gonna die.
Yeah. As to whether it's related to a sun cycle, or it's related to asteroid impacts, where we keep going through the same region of space. Every 12,000 years or so, where we're going much closer to a cluster of asteroids and we pull stuff in.
It's the Anunnaki.
Well, there is Planet X, Nibiru, isn't there?
Anunnaki.
However,
go back to our previous episode. I'll put the link up.
Yeah, but the thing that I've thought about about the Planet X, actually, when thinking about this in the 12,000 year cycle is that supposedly, according to the NASA IRAS infrared satellite that saw it in 1984, is on a 3,600 year highly elliptical orbit. Now, if we've only got if we've only got a 12,000 year catastrophic cycle, but this is supposedly coming into the inner solar system every 3,600 years, why are we not seeing 4 cycles every 12,000 years or so?
It doesn't quite work.
It doesn't quite work. The maths doesn't.
It's not every third time or every fourth time.
No, it's not. It's not cyclical. So I tend to moving away from there being a Planet X or a brown dwarf companion to our sun that we're unable to observe for some reason. I move. Obviously, 85% of stars in our galaxy that we observe are binary. So I was keen on that theory, but the time cycle doesn't seem to link very well, does it? That's
the other thing about this series that I really love is I keep changing my mind about things as you research things. That sort of thing. So
but
again,
you should, if you're
don't
open-minded.
leave comments that we've changed our mind. This is the point. That's yes, open-minded. Open-minded is not believing every crackpot theory you hear and saying that it's not the mainstream. I just don't believe the mainstream, because open-minded is supposed to be that you take on board different ideas and change your mind
and form your own opinion.
And we will regularly change our mind.
Yeah.
So.
And not apologise for it.
Damn right. And I'm sorry about that.
I think that's a great note to end on.
I'm English. I apologise about everything, man. Don't tell people we're not going to apologise.
Sorry.
People will walk into me in the street and I will say I'm sorry.
Yeah, we do that. British, eh?
Yeah. God love us. Right. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week.